If you were left hungry in a jungle today, and two types of meat were placed before you, on one side cow meat and on the other the meat of a predator like a lion or wolf, your brain would always choose the cow. But have you ever wondered why? Look, they are both animals and both have meat, and technically a human can eat both. So why do we consider one to be food and the other not? But this reaction can't be just a modern human thing. Thousands of years ago, humans also hunted only the animals that ate plants, not the animals that hunted other animals. So the question is, was there less meat in predators? And was there any risk of disease from eating their meat? If we look at the answers to these questions with the help of archaeology, we find that ancient humans never avoided predators. In Germany, the remains of a cave lion approximately 48,000 years old were found, with hunting injuries or butchery marks on its bones. Further research revealed that Neanderthals had killed this lion with a wooden thrusting spear and then processed its carcass. The study also considered meat consumption to be a likely explanation. In simple terms, ancient humans were not always fleeing from predators, but sometimes hunted them as well. But this raises a question. If humans could kill predators like lions or wolves, wouldn't that just be a normal part of the human diet? The answer to this question doesn't lie with a single predator, but in the entire food web. Imagine nature as a giant food chain. Plants store energy. Herbivores feed on these plants, and predators hunt these herbivores. When energy is transferred from one level to the next, a large portion of it is used for the animal's movement, growth, and metabolism. That's why an ecosystem can generally support more biomass and populations at the lower levels, while there are comparatively few apex predators. And for the hunters of ancient times, this had a simple implication. If there were many deer in a valley but very few wolves hunting them, then the deer naturally had a better chance of finding food. And this is where a basic rule of survival comes into play. Food must not only be edible, it must also be available. And it must be worth the effort to catch it. Hunting a large herbivore could provide a group with enough meat to justify the effort of the hunt. But when hunting a wolf, the risk could be very high compared to the reward. Because the wolf wasn't just meat. The wolf was a hunter in its own right. He knew what to do in a dangerous situation. And if a human hunter's strategy failed, the result wasn't just coming away empty-handed. The risk of injury was also high, and in the prehistoric world, injury was no small matter. Therefore, the cost of hunting dangerous animals wasn't just burning calories, it also involved a risk to survival. And research on modern hunter-gatherers gives us an interesting window into this calculation. A large review examined 85 studies across 5 continents and more than 799,000 kill records. Researchers found that human hunters often preferred relatively large-bodied prey, and prey choice was influenced not only by body size, but also by the environment and the threat posed by other animals. In other words, human hunting was not random. For the hunter, the basic calculation went something like this. How much reward will I get, and how much risk will I have to take for that reward? And predators often fall short in this calculation. But now there's another problem. What was the predator itself eating? A herbivore is relatively low on the food chain. The predator is higher up. And when humans eat the predator, they move up to another level of the food web. This doesn't mean that predator meat is automatically poisonous. That's not the case. But wild carnivores can carry certain parasites, and Trichinella is an important example of this. Humans can become infected through undercooked meat from certain wild game. Ancient humans didn't have laboratory testing. They didn't know whether microscopic parasites were present in an animal's muscles or not. They relied on experience. They relied on observation. And they relied on knowledge passed down through generations. So if a food source posed an unnecessary risk and a safer option was available instead, it wasn't necessary to make that food a regular part of their diet. But here, it would also be wrong to simply call predator meat dangerous. There was even a time in human history when carnivorous animals were eaten as well. And that's why our title creates a very intriguing paradox. We never completely stopped eating carnivorous animals. It was just that we didn't make them part of our everyday or preferred diet. And the real reason behind this lies more in our own human psychology than in biology. We don't view animals merely as calories. We attach categories to them. One animal seems like food to us. Another is dangerous. And a third might be symbolic or sacred in some cultures. When ancient humans saw a lion or any large predator, the word meat wasn't the only thing that came to mind. They would have clearly perceived the danger as well. And this danger wasn't some imaginary or hypothetical threat. Large predators were, in fact, a real threat to human survival. But these predators also played another very important role. They were our direct competitors. If a lion is hunting deer in a certain area, it is consuming the very same resources that humans also want to harvest. That's why killing a predator could sometimes be for food, and sometimes because of competition. And that's why archaeology is so interesting. Finding cut marks on a predator's bones doesn't automatically mean that humans were hungry and hunted it for dinner. Rather, predators were killed in various situations as well. Sometimes its skin might have been valuable, other times its teeth or bones might have been useful. In other words, killing a predator and using its hide, skin, and other resources for specific purposes, rather than making that predator a regular source of food, proves that Neanderthals' relationship with animals was not limited to mere necessity, but was an integral part of the environment of that time and their survival strategy. These are two distinct things, and it is very important to understand this difference. Humans can eat a wide variety of foods, but that doesn't mean everything we eat should be part of our regular diet. Even today, in some places, predatory animals are eaten, but if you look at the global food system, we rely primarily on animals that can be easily raised and bred. And this is where the real story begins. The journey from hunting to civilization. When humans began raising animals and growing crops, the entire balance of food changed. There was no longer a need to constantly chase dangerous animals in the jungle. You could keep animals close to home, control their breeding, and make food completely predictable. Before, there was only one question: where will we get food? But with the advent of civilization, the question became, how much food can we produce? This was the greatest transformation in human history. Today, standing in a supermarket, we don't even realize this. And the items on the meat shelf seem completely ordinary to us. But for people in the old days, finding food at all times was a struggle against nature. What's the weather like? What kind of animals are around? How difficult is it to hunt them? And if we do catch one, how much will it benefit the whole group? This is why, for some predators, food wasn't just a matter of testing their skills or satisfying a whim. They had to consider how much effort was involved and how much benefit they would gain. Our own bodies also give us a fascinating clue. We are not strictly carnivores. According to a global study, humans' trophic level is approximately 2.21, which indicates that we are not dependent on just one type of food. This level varies somewhat across different societies and countries. Perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't that we could eat only meat, but rather that we could adapt to any environment. If large animals were available in a certain place, humans would hunt them. If fish or vegetables were more readily available in a certain place, the diet would reflect that. And if a new opportunity arose, humans would take advantage of it as well. It was this flexibility that taught humans to thrive in all kinds of environments. And technology has further enhanced this ability. If you compare a human to a lion, the outcome is clear from the start. The lion is much stronger. It has claws and powerful jaws. But humans did not try to defeat the lion with brute strength. We created tools, built structures, worked together, and used our intellect. Archaeological evidence of cave lions is the best example of this. Neanderthals didn't have weapons like we do today, yet they still had the ability to hunt a dangerous apex predator. But then the same point arises. Having the ability to do something and enjoying doing it are two different things. We can kill an animal, but that doesn't mean it's our favorite food. And perhaps this is why humans have generally kept predators at a distance. It wasn't impossible to kill them, nor was it impossible to eat them. But when better and easier food was available, there was no need to go after dangerous prey. This reveals a very interesting truth about human evolution. We weren't the world's strongest hunters, nor were we the fastest runners. We didn't have a lion's claws or a wolf's speed, but we could change our strategy, share information with one another, and improve our tools. And most importantly, we could decide what to pursue and what not to pursue. Perhaps this is why humans have managed to survive in such diverse and challenging environments around the world. We didn't change the entire environment to suit ourselves. Rather, we adapted our behavior to suit the environment. And that difference was enormous. So perhaps the real question wasn't why humans didn't eat predators, but rather when humans began to think about and choose what to eat and what not to eat. A lion had strength, a wolf had speed, but humans had a unique advantage. We weren't forced to survive in just one way. We could understand the situation and adjust our strategy. And when a food source seemed too dangerous, we'd leave it behind and look for something else. We didn't always defeat nature or prey through sheer strength. Sometimes we simply assessed the situation and decided, pursuing this isn't worth our time and effort. And perhaps this was the greatest victory of human evolution. Not to conquer everything by force, but to understand that true success lies in knowing what to pursue and where it's better to stop.